Thanks for coming out on Drinks with Drake. I'd shake your hand, but you caught me. I do feel a little under the weather.
I don't need that.
We'll leave that out. Today I'm drinking a ginger beer to help my tummy ache. What about you? A little Roni action?
Corona.
All right, go ahead and pop that baby open.
You can have any beer you want, as long as it's a Corona.
Ooh. Wow, you got a nice little trick there, huh?
Ah.
Okay, so we'll get it right into it. You kind of have a different story than some people here at ZZP. Obviously, you're not from Grand Rapids, and you make a hike out here quite a bit.
Yeah.
So where are you from?
So I was born and raised about an hour south of Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Okay.
And I currently live in Fort Wayne. And yesterday was actually my 1-year anniversary here.
Really?
It was.
What the heck, man? You didn't tell anybody?
I put it on Facebook, but no one likes me there. So.
I commented on it very sick with the hand-raising emojis.
Oh, that's right. You did.
I was wondering why I didn't get a favorite, but everybody else got a favorite from you. You know, you didn't like my
comment. Go like it.
I do. I would appreciate that.
I'll do that while we're talking. I'll like your comment.
So you said that it's an hour and a half south of Fort Wayne. So how far is it from Grand Rapids?
My original home?
Yeah.
3.5 hours.
So how far do you have to drive to go see your family? Because little do they know, people on camera, you actually stay up here during the week.
Yeah, I commute weekly. If there's no traffic and no weather, I can make it home in just over 2.5 hours.
Whew. That's a drive. That's a big commitment.
It is. But my previous job, I drove over an hour each way for 7 or 8 years every day.
Oh, so you drove back and forth every day.
I'm used to spending a lot of time in the car.
Yeah. So what did you do before ZZP? Because you said it was your 1 year here.
Before ZZ... Oh, there's your comment. I'm going to like it.
Oh, thank God. I thought you were mad at me.
I'm even going to give it a heart.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Before ZZP and when I was in high school, I was a machinist.
Okay. What does that mean?
In the simplest terms, make things out of metal.
Okay. It's like fab.
Kind of. Fab takes metal and puts it together. Machinist takes a solid piece of metal and cuts it down into a part.
Okay.
So that's the simplest way to differentiate between the two. When I was in high school, we took a field trip for the vocational classes available. And at that point, I wasn't even really aware of a machinist or what they do. And we took a field trip to the machine shop. And
what a weird field trip.
But it was amazing. It was like the look on my face had to have been like a kid's first time in Chuck E. Cheese. My mind was blown with all the things you could do and things you could make.
So you're pumped.
Oh, yeah. I knew right away that I wanted a career in something related to that.
Right. So how did you get involved, or how did you find out that you wanted to go to, become a ZZP employee? Did you know about ZZP before you applied?
Well, I actually never applied.
Oh, whoa.
But we'll get to that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
What got me started in the car stuff, I always liked cars growing up, but my dad just wasn't a car guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a great guy, great dad, just didn't care for cars.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I turned 16, around then, I played with souping up lawnmowers and crap like that. I had an old lawnmower that went about 35 miles an hour that we jumped a couple times.
Like a sitting lawnmower?
Yeah, it was a terrible idea.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Yeah, I'm sure my buddy Steve will end up watching this. He's the one that we usually talked into ramping it. I mean, he hit one really, really big ramp.
Crazy Steve.
He was kind of crazy. He's one of those people that he could just get on something with an engine and drive it, though.
Okay.
He just has a natural skill for that. So, me and our other friend Eric, naturally, we convinced him to ramp the lawnmower. And
peer pressure.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was a good 5 foot in the air over a gravel road.
Whew.
The landing was pretty rough.
Country boys.
Yeah, we did a lot of dumb stuff. So that was my intro into really getting into engines and tinkering with stuff. And then I don't even know what time frame it was. It'd been around 2010 or so. One of my cousins had an Ion Redline that was stock, and I was interested in getting a new daily driver, something that would be fun. And so one day I just got on internet and was looking around, and there happened to be one at a dealership right down the road. And so I went and looked at it and then bought it the next day. And my intention was just to have a fun daily driver. But I can't leave well enough alone. And it started a progression that still has never stopped.
It's an addiction.
Oh, absolutely. It's just seeing what I can do, really.
Yeah.
And I never intended to get into tuning either. But when I first wanted to do some mods to my car, there really weren't any in-person tuners available where I was located at.
Okay.
And I looked on the forums, and the software is free to download to look at, in case anyone didn't know. And so I downloaded HP Tuners, looked through it, and I'm like, I can figure this out. So what was probably not a good choice at the time, but worked out well, I just used student loan money to buy HP Tuners, and so I could tune my own car.
That's how you started Dream.
Yeah, and I mean, it worked out for the best.
Right.
Yes. I guess technically I'm still paying for it, but... But yeah, and even at that point, I never intended to become a tuner and tune other people. It was a way for me to take care of my own car.
Right.
And I spent well over a year, probably close to a year and a half, just tinkering with my own car before I ever touched anyone else's. And even at that point, I was just helping out a friend. Like, I wasn't intending to try any side business or anything like that. And then shortly after that, a good friend of mine, John Haddock, he had the first ZZP Ion turbo kit that was ever made.
Whew.
And
that's your end.
And he said, hey, you want to see what you can do with this? Well, yeah. Sounds like fun to me. So we set up a day and went to the dyno, and he ended up making 508 at the wheels on
the dyno that we have, or like a different dyno?
No, it's a dyno down in Indiana, CJ
Okay.
Racing Engines. CJ's a good friend of mine too.
Shout out CJ.
Yeah, shout out CJ. That's where I always took any car that I ever tuned, if possible, because the dyno gives you horsepower numbers, but they're really only useful if you go to the same dyno every time, because every dyno is a little bit different. And by always going to that dyno, I knew what numbers to expect for a given setup. So if I threw a car on there, I had a ballpark in my head where it should be, and so it was easy for me to tell if something was wrong with the car.
Okay.
Because those numbers would be off from what I'd expect.
Good. That is good.
So where am I at? I'm tuning John's car.
Yeah.
So we had a blast that day, and Raleigh Kitchenhoff was there too with his car. He had some fuel issues that day. We didn't get to do anything crazy. But John's car, we just kept turning it up. And normally I wouldn't advise someone to just push their car to the limit. But John was a really good friend. He's still a really good friend of mine. And we both knew exactly what risk we were taking.
Right.
But in the end, everything worked out well. And that engine is still together to this day.
Bad boy engine.
Yeah, it was a factory freak. Even before the turbo swap, it made crazy numbers on the M62. He was like in the 280s on pump gas. This doesn't happen very often.
So then how did you get the in with ZZP?
When I had my car and got into tuning and stuff, I went to a CED, Crane Engine Depot meet, where all the ZZP crew came out. And like even back then and still now, like just feel like I'm just another car guy, just another gearhead. But meeting those guys out there is like meeting celebrities to me.
So who was like the guy you wanted to meet the most?
Well, at that point, I didn't know any of them.
Oh,
I knew ZZP.
Right.
At that meet, I think Tim, Steven, Ryan, Graham were out there. This was long before Ryan Derrick worked there. But just meeting with the guys, talking to them, looking at the two-tone Cobalt and all the other cars they had there, it's just like I remember thinking, wow, it'd be crazy if I could ever get a job like that.
Yeah.
But I never thought it was possible. So from then on, I just kind of, my side business of tuning just slowly grew on its own. I never really did any advertising or anything like that. It was just all word of mouth. But it kept me busy, and the extra income from that, paid some extra bills and allowed me to do some stuff with my car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really the only way that my car ever became anything noteworthy, was because of the
tuning
funded it. Yeah. But there was a time. Actually, we gotta go back in time a little bit. When I had my Ion, before I had ever tuned John's turbo Ion, he came up here with another friend of ours to have his car dyno tuned by Tim. And that day, Tim was giving me a load of crap trying to get me to put my car on the dyno. And I just kept telling him, no, I tuned myself. I got it covered.
Yeah.
And he didn't know me at all at that point. And from that day, for like the next 5 years, like, Tim only knew me and referred to me as self-tuner guy. I don't think he even actually knew what my name was. Right. I was just the tuner guy.
Dang, so you've been around for a long time with ZZP.
I've been friends with these guys for a long time.
Yeah.
And especially, I'd say, like, the last 3 years before I worked here, my side tuning had gotten fairly big, fairly well known in the community, and I was friends with the guys. I mean, yeah, I was a competitor, but we never like butted heads over anything. I would always chat with Steve, Ryan, Derek, Tim whenever I got the chance.
Yeah,
like these guys were always friends of mine, and I liked it that way, because when you're friends with other people that are big in your own industry, you have connections that way.
For sure.
So I always tried to make sure that I kept that friendship going.
So then how did you get the job?
Actually, it was at Tail of the Dragon, I think the year before last. The guys were sitting around, and I wasn't there. The guys were just sitting around hanging out one night, and Steve had a few too many beers and got this crazy idea that they should hire me. Just because he knew me and knew what I did and knew my reputation. And so he told Zoom, he's like, why, we should hire this guy Al. And told him what he knew about me, and Zoom pretty much said, well, why haven't you yet?
Oh, big Zoom words.
Yeah, so not later, like a month later, we all met up at a half-mile event down in Indiana. And Steve made a comment about how hard it is to find good workers in this industry that fit into like what we do here.
Right.
And completely joking, I said, well, tell Zoom to get me a relocation package. I'll come up and pack the boxes for you. There was no thought put into it. It was just a ha, and then we go on talking about cars and stuff. And then several weeks later, I get a text from Steve while I was at work, and he said, so how serious were you about coming up here? And like my mind exploded.
Yeah.
And I didn't even respond to him for several hours, because I was still wrapping my mind around it. And after being here a year, I still feel the same way. This is the first time in my life that, there's a year straight that there hasn't been one morning that I woke up and didn't want to go to work.
Right.
Like, I get to come here, and it has its crap moments, dealing with some unruly customer service or problematic cars, but almost all the time, I get paid to come here and do what I love. We come here and have fun.
Yeah, it's cool to do your passion.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand with the dynamic that this place has. Like,
such a weird feeling working
here. Yeah, you don't get this anywhere else. Like,
it really is like a family here, which is like the biggest thing I appreciate.
Yeah, and if you have a problem with someone, it's gonna get handled.
Oh yeah,
like quickly.
Yeah, you just kind of
because everyone else here is not gonna tolerate it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's really neat. I wish more of the customers and other people could see that.
Yeah, I think that's like a good reason why we're doing this, is because we can finally like let them see like inside what ZZP is like. Because for some people that do want to work here and like think that it's not possible, like you did, like it's obviously possible to be able to get a job here if we're like looking for the right skills.
Yeah, and it's not like it was something I was gunning for. I mean, it was a pipe dream of something that would be really cool.
Yeah, I think that credits like the fact that like you fit in though. You know what I mean? Like not anybody can just work here. You know what I mean? Like you definitely have to fit in. Like just the aspect and like people that work here that do a good job. I feel like it's more about you fitting in and then you doing the good job after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and really having a team mentality is
sure.
really important. Like,
yeah,
there's been people here that have big egos and they don't stay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big difference between being proud of what you've done and confident in your abilities versus just being a dick or having a huge ego. And that's something I think that's really pushed around here.
Yeah.
Is we don't. Everyone here is good at what they do.
Yeah.
You have to be to be able to stick around.
Yeah, especially working for Zoom, but.
Yeah, Zoom drives a tight ship.
Yeah, he does. Well, one of your highlights this year was going to China. You just got back like a couple weeks ago. So how was that experience like? Because I know you said you've never been out of the country.
I never thought I would ever go out of the country unless it was like driving to Canada because I have a phobia level fear of airplanes.
Which is funny because you're like the biggest dude that works
here.
So.
Yeah. Like, I mean, everyone's feelings are on the outside of their skin.
Right.
So it all hurts the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zoom came up to me and asked, or he started talking about this race in China in Lungai, our friends out there, wanting a couple of us to come out to tune cars. And like he's telling me this stuff and I'm sitting in my chair and I know he's going to ask me to go and I just start sweating and my heart's pounding because I'm like, well, he's not going to send me there on a boat. So I'm going to have to fly.
Yeah.
And he just flat out asked me if I would go. And like, it was kind of funny, like a weird scene from a movie or something. Like I said no in my head, but out loud I said yes. And then I'm just like,
you can't tell the boss no.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I mean, and plus, how can I pass up a chance to go to China?
Like, how many times can you really do that in life through work? You know.
Yeah. So, I was still absolutely terrified of flying. Mm-hmm. Luckily, my doctor was able to get me some anxiety medication, which the fear is still very much there, but you're just able to deal with it. I wouldn't say I was relaxed.
No?
I was still scared, but I was talking to someone the other day about it. Like, if there's a candle on the table and someone told you to stick your finger in it, you're physically capable of doing it, but your mind won't let you. But with the right anxiety medicine, you probably could do it.
Yeah.
Like, the fear's still there, but you just do it anyway. So I was able to get there fine. But on that note, on the way back, it was a 12-hour flight back, and the anxiety pills don't last that long. And I dozed off and forgot to take more in the middle of the flight, and didn't realize it till we were almost ready to land. So the landing on the way home was definitely the worst part of the entire trip.
Yeah,
I was just running through my head like I can go all the way to China, all the way back, and now we're landing the plane, and now I'm going to die.
Yeah, that'd probably be the worst thing. So what were you there for? You did tuning there? Yeah,
they are really, really big into the ATS and Camaro market.
But they don't have our ATS, right?
They do, but it's not as popular. The most popular ATS there is the ATS-L.
Okay. Which,
after seeing them in person, I really wish that's the sedan they had released in the U.S.
Really?
It's not that much different, but it's just enough.
What's so different about it?
Basically, just looking at it from the middle of the car forward, it's the same. But your back seat is a few inches roomier, and the car is extended a little bit.
So big boys
the
like
L literally means longer.
Yeah.
But it's just enough that it changes the lines of the rear door and the rear bumper a little bit. And it's not a huge difference, but they look nicer, I think.
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, they're a really nice looking car.
So the dyno you guys went to, I heard a funny story about that. I heard that they kept the doors closed during the dyno.
Yeah. In China, they are very, very picky on noise pollution. So in order to have that dyno there, it was a sound insulated room with really thick, heavy double doors that you had to close before every dyno pull.
Well, why don't they just have like a tube that hooks up to an exhaust and like shoots outside?
I don't know.
Like that's gotta be so bad for your body.
Yeah, I was like every time we were in there, because they had exhaust fans, but they couldn't keep up with the amount of exhaust the cars were putting out at full throttle. So they would close the doors, get the car up to speed, and then as soon as they go full throttle, I just hold my breath until the pull was over.
Oh, no.
And then we kick the doors open, run out and get fresh air.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was not ideal. Probably should have had a respirator on or something like that.
Probably. So race season's coming up in a couple months. I know you did a little video with T yesterday, setting your goals a little bit.
Yeah.
Elaborate more on that. What are you expecting from yourself this year? Because you drive the, which one do you have again?
I have the black 2006 Saturn Ion.
Oh yeah, I rode in that one. That's the first one I ever rode in at ZZP. I thought I shit my pants, dude. You're like, yeah, I think I missed a gear, and this thing was like shaking. I was like, dude, I gotta get out of this thing. I'll stick to marketing.
It wasn't even going that fast.
Yeah, maybe for you, man, for someone that's never been in a race car before.
Yeah, I wish you could have rode with me at the half mile. That was a real pucker moment.
This year, I'll get in. But I'm a big guy. You're a big guy. We're gonna weigh down the speed. We're not gonna be as fast.
It probably won't make much of a difference. The half mile is really more your aerodynamics versus your power.
Okay.
The weight still plays a factor, but it's not nearly as important as it would be on like a quarter-mile drag race.
Okay. Cool, then we'll do that. So what are you looking to try to do this year?
I want to try to get some seat time on the road course. Is my biggest goal, because the half-mile stuff is a lot of fun, but in that car, 160 plus is really fast. And my best mile an hour last year was 167. And just doing that with no aerodynamics and just a 4-point roll bar and factory seat belts just had me kind of second guessing whether I should really be doing that with that car.
I would not get in that car with you.
Yeah, well, that's all changing this winter. I've got a clean shell that I'm swapping everything over to, because my car, I had over 250,000 miles on it.
Okay.
Because I wasn't some show car or dyno queen guy. I mean, I drove the heck out of that thing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, there was times I hopped in it and drove all the way to Cleveland just to go race some Hellcat. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, the car was either going to break or it wasn't.
Sounds like a real car guy, if you ask me.
Yeah, in many ways. It was a driver. I drove it every day, even when it was making like 600 at the wheels. And that's why I have the car, because I like driving it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to let it sit.
Well, I'm excited for this upcoming spring. This will be my first full race season, so I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have you back. I know a lot of people are interested in your story, so.
Yeah, there's a lot more we haven't covered.
For sure. Thanks, Al.